over the last couple of weeks, we've been starting to see a lot of news drop from the Penn State wrestling room and the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, and it has not been positive news overall. We saw a situation with Braden Davis, a situation with Kyle Snyder, and now we're seeing a lot of news unfold regarding Carter Starocci. And so we're going to kind of go over what we know today as of this point and what things might look like moving forward. So it was announced today that the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club will not be bringing or signing on Carter Starocci. So he won't be training with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. He presumably will not be at Penn State anymore. And so how did we get to this point? Let's start with what the public was first brought to the public. And that was, it started with wrestling forums. Is actually where we got into this whole situation. So Sydney Bartlett, Bo Bartlett's wife, is where things begin. She posted something on social media. It was a picture of Kyle Dake, Carter Starocci, Dake getting his hand raised, and something to the effect of, "I love to see the good guys win," or "You love to see it," something like that. And so that sparked a little bit of criticism of Sydney Bartlett. And it's like, why? What's your deal with Carter Starocci? Why would you say that? And Bo Bartlett comes out and puts the defense on for his wife. It's a good thing to do for a husband. And there's a lot that he says. He says great things about Penn State, and says that there are some things that I know that I can't bring to the public light, basically. And from there, we start to speculate, like what's happening here, what's going on. And so it was brought to the public's attention that there's an investigation. And who is this investigation about? Eventually, we start to find out it's about Carter Starocci, or we speculate that at least. And so, in the following weeks, things are pretty silent. As a matter of fact, to before yesterday, I had kind of completely forgotten about this situation. But we start to hear, or we get this news article yesterday on the Daily Collegian. Carter Starocci had been investigated, and there are allegations against Carter Starocci of theft, of sexual misconduct, and even of rape, which is very serious. And so, if you can go read the article, you can go get some details. There's a couple of things that I'm going to kind of hone in on, and I'm going to try and keep it within the wrestling room and within wrestling, just because I think those are the things that are relevant in terms of what it means for the sport. So, the place where we'll begin is Bo Bartlett had some belongings in his locker, and he reported that it was $1,000 or over $1,000 worth of items, and that they had been stolen. And so an investigation was launched, and even prior to that, he had gone to the coaches and said, "Hey, this happened. Other teammates have said that this has happened with Carter Starocci before. Not that Carter had items stolen, but that he had stolen the items himself," stating that there were like scooters and a pair of wrestling shoes, other items like that. And I believe the idea was said that Carter stole these items in retaliation to Bo Bartlett. And I can't remember why that would have happened. I believe it was due to the fact that Sydney had some information brought to her about Carter, and she told that to Carter's girlfriend. So Carter, in retaliation, took some of Bo's things. That's the idea, at least. And so there was an investigation launched. They pulled some security footage, and the only people to have entered the wrestling facility between when Bo last saw his items and when he reported them as missing was Carter Starocci and Tyler Kasek. They reached out to Kasek. They didn't really get any meaningful information from him. They were unable to get in contact with Carter Starocci. As a matter of fact, they've been unable to get in contact with Carter Starocci over the last 6 months. So what is happening there? I don't know. And so with that, the other interesting fact is Bo Bartlett brought this up to the coaches. The coaches said, "We'll support you in whatever decision you make." But then that's it. And so some people are saying, well, what's the deal with that? If you know that you have an athlete who has been reported as having stolen things before, well, to what capacity are the coaches responsible for that? The public probably puts them up as very responsible. You guys need to make sure that your things are in order in your ship. And so I don't know to what capacity they're responsible. I can't speak on that. But so that's one thing, and the investigation was closed, and nothing came of it. But after that, the next thing is there are teammates reporting that Carter Starocci was being a little bit more handsy with genitals and sticking fingers up butts, both on and off the mat. And so, if you're wrestling and, you're going for a go behind, you reach for the near side leg, or you reach for the far hip, or you reach somewhere in between, there's people hit oil checks in wrestling. To what degree? There's a point where it's excessive, definitely. But Bo Bartlett was I believe he even said that this had been happening in front of the coaches, and the coaches had done nothing about it. And yeah, I mean, personally, if I'm a coach, things are going to happen, but after a certain point, I can say, okay, that's excessive. Like, I need to step in. And so, where is that limit for Cael Sanderson? I don't know. And so these things are happening on the mat. There's also reports of explicit photos being taken in the locker room, sent to a Snapchat group, and that this has happened a lot, and that it's been brought to the coach's attention. The coaches have done nothing. And so that's the part that is probably the most interesting to me, and probably the part that the people think about the most or want to consider the most. To what degree are the coaches responsible for the actions of their athletes? And at what point should they step in and say, hey, stop this, or hey, you need to, this reaction is necessary for this situation? I think that's probably the most interesting point here. People are saying, oh, Cael Sanderson needs to be fired for this type of stuff. Well, with the way the situation is, there is no guilt to be brought yet, because there's no crime. And so until somebody's found guilty of something, until that point, you can't really do much. If you're a coach, if you're the NCAA, if you're Penn State, no matter who you are, you have to find an admission of guilt, or you have to find evidence incriminating. So nothing happens, nothing changes, unless some sort of crime is proved. So I don't think the sport is better without Cael Sanderson. Does it provide more parity for the sport? Sure. But I don't think that we should be excited in any way, because this is a pretty awful situation, especially the things that you can read in this article. It's a pretty bad situation overall. Whether or not things are true or false, if Carter Starocci is completely innocent in this situation, then it sucks that his reputation, somebody who's really good at the sport, he's a 5-time national champ, one of the best, he's just kind of getting his name dragged through the dirt, which sucks. If he is innocent. If he's guilty, it sucks that all those things happened. So, where do we move forward from here? We know that Carter Starocci is not going to be a part of the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, but we don't know where he's going next. And we don't know if this investigation is going to prompt further investigation or further truth being uncovered. And that's the thing that I think all people should be trying to look for out of this situation is, what is the truth? Who did get hurt? And what are the consequences? I think these are the things that need to be figured out across the board. And yeah, I don't know what that looks like. Is this going to move forward in any way? I don't know. This might be the last time that we hear about anything regarding this. So, especially with the fact that Carter Starocci won't be with Nittany Lion Wrestling Club anymore, he probably won't be involved in Penn State wrestling room in any capacity, then this is probably going to be one of the last things we hear about it. So, but that's the story. That's the situation. It sucks. It's not good for the sport. There hasn't been a lot of great news coming out of Penn State lately, but hopefully things start to change soon. But if I missed anything, if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments. Do all that stuff. And that's it.